Washington Journal continues.
Joining us this morning is Congressman Tom McClintock. He's the top Republican on the Judiciary Subcommittee on Immigration and Citizenship. He's also a member of the Natural Resources Committee, and we're going to talk about the border crisis in a minute. But Mr. McClintock, let's begin with this vote that's taking place over leadership in about less than 30 minutes. You will meet behind closed doors for this secret vote. How do you plan to vote on whether or not to oust her, the Wyoming Congresswoman Liz Cheney, from the third leadership spot?
Well, I've never been a supporter of Liz Cheney. I was one of the 61 who voted to remove her last month. And it comes down to this. A leader has to put their personal interests and biases aside when they're speaking for the Republican conference. She's always been unwilling to do that. Now, she speaks very eloquently and passionately for herself. Sometimes I agree with her, sometimes I don't. I think it's always commendable, but not as a leader.
You say she's always been unable to do that. What other instances?
She has taken on members. She actually financed a campaign against one of our incumbents, Thomas Massey. That's simply, and using her position to raise money to put against other Republicans. I think that is simply unacceptable in a member of the leadership.
So what is your vote today about, in your own words?
Well, I think it's about whether our leaders will speak for us or they will attack us. It's not all that complicated.
And what about the role of former President Donald Trump in today's vote?
I think that's largely irrelevant. By the way, I happen to agree with Cheney that the House had no authority to reject electoral votes submitted to it. So I'm not in disagreement with many of the stands that she's taken. I disagree very firmly with her vote for impeachment. But it's not about that. It's about her conduct as a member of the Republican leadership.
Do you think then that President Biden was legitimately elected?
Well, here's what cannot be disputed. By the way, short answer is yes. What can't be disputed is this. It's the Electoral College that elects the president. It voted for Joe Biden. Now, the states elect the Electoral College according to their own laws. They certified all of their electors. We have a process to review the legality and integrity of the elections, and that process ran its course. Now, I still believe that several states unconstitutionally changed the rules of their elections to benefit Biden, but the Supreme Court refused to hear that case. The forensic review of the Maricopa County, Arizona results, I think, is going to shed more light on the question of election integrity. But here's the fine point of it. An election must not only be fair, it has to appear fair. And in this election, some of the most fundamental safeguards against fraud were stripped away. So I think it's inevitable that whoever loses is not going to entirely trust the outcome.
Back to this leadership vote happening in about 20 minutes. Do you support Elise Stefanik to replace Congresswoman Liz Cheney?
No, I don't. I think she's one of the most liberal Republicans in Congress. I question if she'd be an effective spokesperson for the conference, which she so often disagrees with. So I'm hoping another candidate comes forward. I was told yesterday that the vote to replace Cheney will not be today. I certainly hope that's correct.
What have you been told? How will it work?
I've just been told that it will be decided at a later conference, but I have to put that in the realm of rumor. I don't have any official news on that subject.
Okay. So who would you like to see step forward instead of Elise Stefanik? And have you been told that that's a possibility, that you could get more than one choice?
Well, it's certainly a possibility, but no one that I know of has yet stepped forward. I would like to see a solid conservative, someone like Jim Jordan, step forward to run for that position. I think he'd be overwhelmingly elected if he did.
Let's talk about the border. You just returned from the southern border. You're the top Republican on the Judiciary Subcommittee that oversees immigration and citizenship. What did you find?
I found a country without borders. We are far past any debate over whether this is a border crisis. The question now is whether we have a border at all. And what I've seen now on two trips to the border over the last few months is the answer is no. I have watched hundreds of illegals cross our border with impunity. They simply line up at one station, line up in a Disney-style line. Their basic information is taken. And if they are a family group with a young person with them, they're taken right to transportation hubs to be transported at our expense into the United States, even though they have no right to be here. They've illegally crossed the border. Some of them are not even being given notices to appear. They're just being given a number to call when they arrive at their destination. Meanwhile, not a finger is being lifted to try to locate where what we have right now, about 22,000 unaccompanied minors in our custody. Nobody is lifting a finger to find out where they came from and get them safely back there. All of the effort is to put them into the United States. One of the Border Patrol officers told us that they're under orders to rapidly process illegals into the country as quickly as they can. That's the Biden policy. And it shows. It has sent a very powerful message throughout the third world. I mean, you just look at the numbers on family units entering the country. The week of the election last year, 100 family units illegally crossed the border. By Inauguration Day, that number had swelled to 1,100 in a week. By March 24th, that number had ballooned to 14,000 in a week. Now, Gallup tells us that according to their surveys in Latin America and the Caribbean, they estimate there are about 42 million people prepared to come to this country if they can. Now they can, and now they are. And the number we just saw for April, almost 180,000 encounters at the border. That's a population the size of Bend, Oregon. And that doesn't include the 300,000, very conservatively estimated, 300,000 gotaways that the Border Patrol could not stop. That's a population larger than Jackson, Mississippi.
Let's go to Catherine in St. Joseph, Michigan, a Republican. You are on the air with the congressman. Go ahead, Catherine.
Good morning. I am so glad that you are on top of this and you're aware of all the things that are happening at the border. We have children in Texas, and I really fear for their lives. I mean, these are desperate people that are coming over the border. They're coming for a better life, but I think they really need to do it the right way. I had ancestors that came over, and they had to have someone sponsor them. They had to have money when they came over. These people have money. I mean, I've heard on the news that it's like $7,000. Where do they get this money to give these people to come over here? That's my first question to you. Also, I'd like to know what your views are on this Cheney. Is this the Republicans' first try at weeding out the dead wood in the Republican Party?
Okay, Catherine, we'll have the congressman respond.
I've already shared my views on Liz Cheney. This is certainly the first time I've seen a leader who went out of their way to attack their fellow members. And I'm not just talking about the issue with Trump. I will admit Trump is an acquired taste, but it was her attacks on other Republicans long before this that I think completely disqualified her. But with respect to where are they getting all the money for the coyotes, that's a very important question because I think it highlights the tragedy that's going on. Nobody crosses the borders without the cartels saying so. It's estimated the cartels are now bringing in about $500 million a month through this human trafficking that has been made possible by Biden's policies. Remember, we had control of the border this past year. It has been Joe Biden reversing the policies that got control back that have created this human tragedy. And